Today I'm doing Best Picture, Best Director, and then Actor and Actress. If you want to see me do the screenplays and then supporting actor and actress, please feel free to like this video. That way I know that you enjoy these kind of videos and I can make that part. Anyways, let's start off with Best Picture, and of course at my number one I have Anora. Anora has been my number one ever since it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. I got to see it there. It's a wonderful film, and I just think that the Palme d'Or is such a telling award at this point, because aside from Titan, ever since Parasite, all of the Palme d'Or winners have gotten Best Picture nominations. Parasite won Best Picture back in 2019, and all of those films have also been like genuine contenders, and those have all been foreign films. Now this is an American film directed by a celebrated but under-awarded American director that has won the Palme d'Or, which has already been very telling for the Oscars, and now it's going into the Oscar race. It's been beloved by everybody ever since Cannes. It did really well at the Fall Festival's third place for the People's Choice Award at TIFF, despite the fact it had a very limited number of screenings. I feel very good about Anora. And to me, it is a kind of clear frontrunner right now. And a lot of people don't think there's a clear frontrunner. But from what I've seen, all of those people that are like, there's no clear frontrunner, have Anora as their number one. So it does feel like Anora is kind of a clear frontrunner right now. But there are some other movies that I do think are contenders. For number two, I have The Brutalist. 3.5-hour American epic, really kind of channeling that like 80s, 70s era of American cinema. Adrien Brody's supposed to give a fantastic performance. I mean, everyone's supposed to give a fantastic performance, hyping up how they were able to make this 3.5-hour movie on such a small budget, and that it took them years to make, and everybody who's seen it thinks it's incredible, really, from what I've seen, or at least really appreciates Adrien Brody's performance. So I think The Brutalist could totally be a big contender for Best Picture, but I just don't have it as my number one. Same deal with Emilia Perez. I think these first three movies are the three that I really feel like could win Best Picture. And Emilia Perez comes in at 3 for me, just because it's been a bit more divisive. Yes, there's been a lot of people that have loved Emilia Perez, but there have also been a lot of people that haven't been as big of a fan of Emilia Perez. And I think, despite the divisiveness, we'll see Emilia Perez do pretty well at the Oscars. We've seen divisive movies still do pretty well. I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I take, yeah, we, like, as younger film lovers might say, oh, like, it's a great film. But there are so many people who just didn't click with Everything Everywhere. It was a bit of a divisive movie, and it swept the Oscars. So, a movie being divisive won't stop it from doing really well at the Oscars. And I think Emilia Perez, as a musical, with some really great performances, I think Carlos Sofia Gascon is a huge contender for Best Actress, and we'll get there in a bit. But yeah, I feel really good about Emilia Perez, and I think these first three are really like the big contenders to actually win the award. I also have Dune 2, though, as kind of a lock to get a nomination. It's just going to get so many nominations in so many technical categories. It's the big blockbuster that's probably going to get in here, unless Gladiator 2 gets in as well, which we'll talk about soon. But I don't think it has a great chance of winning. The other movie that I see kind of as a lock is Conclave. Conclave is Edward Berger's follow-up to All Quiet on the Western Front. Stars Ralph Fiennes, who gives a really solid performance. The supporting performances are all really solid. It's just a really well-made film that's really enjoyable as this political thriller, essentially, about the election of a new pope. And it plays really well. Everybody who's seen it seems to enjoy it. Not like love it, but enjoy it. And it's a Focus Features movie. Focus Features usually gets a movie in for Best Picture. So I think this is their film, and I think it is a bit of a lock to get a nomination. At number 6, I have A Real Pain, which for me was a bit of a surprise, but after these 5, it's just kind of a mess. And I was able to come up with 3 films that I don't necessarily think are locks, but I think are very likely to get into Best Picture. And A Real Pain is my first one. It's had a lot of buzz behind it ever since Sundance. Kieran Culkin's performance is supposed to be just an absolute masterclass of acting. And it's supposed to just be a really solid film, directed by Jesse Eisenberg. And Fox Searchlight, they always get a film in here. I know a lot of people think it's going to be a complete unknown. I'm hesitant about a complete unknown. And I feel good about A Real Pain. It's had buzz ever since Sundance, and the people that have seen it at the fall festivals are still buzzing about it. It comes out in a couple of weeks theatrically, and I think it could play really well. Next up is Sing Sing. Sing Sing I have a lot lower than I used to. It just feels like the buzz about Sing Sing has died down quite a bit. But I think Sing Sing is really benefiting from how much Best Picture has kind of opened up. You had movies like Queer that people thought would be a lock and then turned out to be a bit more, fantastical than what the Oscars would typically nominate. Movies like Blitz that people thought were a lock, and then once it got viewed at festivals, it was like, oh, this isn't as good as we thought it was going to be. And then Joker Folie à Deux, kind of the same deal, but just a lot more extreme. So Best Picture has opened up a bit, and I think that's really helped with Sing Sing. We saw a very similar thing with Past Lives last year, where Past Lives, it was like, oh, like without the strike, you would have had movies like Dune 2 in there and not as much room for Past Lives. But because of the strike, you had a lot of movies get delayed, and that allowed for Past Lives to step back into Best Picture. And I think Sing Sing is experiencing something very similar. And finally, at my number 8 spot, I have The Nickel Boys. The Nickel Boys is just supposed to be a film kind of unlike any film you've really seen before, shot from a POV perspective. Some people haven't been that big of fans of The Nickel Boys, but a lot of people adore it and think it's the best movie of the year. It has a very great curve on Letterboxd right now. Just so much buzz and excitement and love for this film, genuine love. Now, I do think it's a little questionable that Amazon MGM did push it back to mid-December for its release, but they did do that with American Fiction, and American Fiction got in, though granted American Fiction won People's Choice at TIFF, and Nickel Boys did not. I feel like Best Picture is pretty open, and with how great people are claiming Nickel Boys is, I think there's room for the film. At 9, I got Blitz. Again, this is an open Best Picture race. Or at least for nominations, it feels very open. And even though Blitz might not be as great as people thought it could have been, it's still a Steve McQueen World War II film. It seems solid, or at least fine. We've seen fine films get Best Picture nominations. We've seen fine films win Best Picture. Look at Coda, look at Green Book. People are gonna like this film. It just seems like a really safe bet. And I have a feeling that when all is said and done, it'll probably get into Best Picture. But I do have it a step down from A Real Pain, Sing Sing, and Nickel Boys, because it's just not being proclaimed as that level of quality as a film. And at number 10, I do have Gladiator 2 right now. I'm not feeling super good about Gladiator 2, but I'm just not feeling that great about the number 10 slot in general. I just feel like there's not a lot of big films to really contend for it, and if Gladiator 2 really is Ridley Scott's best film since The Martian, I mean, it has Denzel, it has Connie Nielsen, Pedro Pascal, Paul Mescal. Like, a lot of star power is behind this film. And it's not like a Wicked where it's a part one and part two is coming out next year. Like, we don't know if we're going to get a Gladiator 3. Like, yeah, Ridley's saying he's writing the script, but will it ever get made? Who knows? So I feel like Gladiator 2 right now is my number 10. And as we keep going, at number 11, I do have A Complete Unknown, and it's in the same color as Blitz and Gladiator 2. I do feel like it is kind of on that same tier, but I am a little worried about it just in terms of like really like quality. You know, it looks like a very conventional biopic. And sure, Timothée Chalamet is probably going to give a great performance, but will that be enough? We'll find out. Just below that, I have The Seed of the Sacred Fig and All We Imagine Is Light. I'm going to group these two films together just because they are both like the big foreign film contenders that I'm seeing for this year. Played really well at Cannes. All We Imagine Is Light won the second place jury prize there. So just a lot of buzz for both of these films. And I could totally see a world where one of them is able to creep in, because Emilia Perez just doesn't feel like an international feature in the same realm that these two films do, because it has so many just American stars and Zoe Saldana and Selena Gomez. So there does it feels like there's room for another international film to creep into the Best Picture 10. And I feel like the two like leading films for that are Seed of the Sacred Fig and All We Imagine Is Light. Will that happen? I don't know. I'm feeling very hesitant, but there's a chance. After those, I have The Room Next Door, won the Golden Lion at Venice, but I'm just not feeling too good about it, because there just doesn't feel like there's a lot of passion behind this film. There's not that much passion behind it, because there's just not that much love for the film. People saw it and they were like, oh, it's all right. And it won the Golden Lion out of Venice that wasn't super, super strong this year. Yeah, people are going to say it beat out The Brutalist for the Golden Lion, but, you know, it could very well just be seen as a career award for Almodovar, and given to him out of respect for his career, rather than just for this film. I do have The Substance after that. I feel very passionate about The Substance personally, so there definitely is a little bit of bias probably in having it here, but also this just feels like the kind of year where things are very open and a movie like The Substance could sneak in there. It's very beloved. It's a lot of people's favorite film of the year. Demi Moore gives a career performance. We're going to talk about that later. If one film could surprise a lot of people this year, it feels like this is the film. And I feel like this is the year with 5 slots that feel relatively open in terms of Best Picture nominations, where this could sneak into one of them. After that, I do have September 5, just kind of a safe bet, I feel like. But also, it does deal with Israel and Palestine, and I feel like right now that might just be too touchy of a subject to that the Oscars will probably want to avoid. Wicked also, I just think as a part 1, it's going to struggle to get a Best Picture nomination, but Dune got a Best Picture nomination, and that was clearly a part 1. So if Wicked is like excellent, it could totally sneak in. I have Here after that. I mean, I know reviews are not looking too great right now, but at the end of the day, it's an open year. I haven't seen it personally, so I kind of want to see it for myself, but I mean, open year, why not? Then I got Nosferatu and Challengers, just rounding things out. Moving on to Best Director. Best Director, things feel a lot less competitive. I do have Brady Corbet right now as my number one for Best Director. Just The Brutalist seems like a very directorial kind of a film, and I could totally see him taking Best Director and then Anora taking Best Picture, and just there being some sort of split. Sean Baker, though, is my number two. He could totally win Best Director. Anora is such a well-directed film, but I do think that Anora will more have a package dealing with like screenplay and acting, and directing could be something that the Oscars look over a little bit. At 3, I do have Ramel Ross, just because of how unique Nickel Boys seems to be with the POV cinematography and all of that. I could totally see this being a situation where Nickel Boys might get snubbed for Best Picture, but then Ramel Ross gets nominated for Best Director. Denis Villeneuve is my number 4. I hate to say it, but I do see a world where he gets snubbed again for Best Director. I really don't see him winning the award. I mean, it would be awesome if he did, but I don't see it personally. I just feel like it's been too long since Dune 2 came out. And yes, there's still hype behind the film, but that passion has not been sustained the same way, where I feel like The Brutalist is going to build up passion, and Anora is going to build up passion, and same with Nickel Boys and potentially other films that are going to come out. Jacques Audiard is my 5, but I do feel like he could get snubbed here just because, yeah, Emilia Perez is a very director-heavy like film, but I feel very strongly about the 4 before him, and I feel like there are other good candidates that could get a Best Director nomination. And I just feel like Audiard, of like my top 5, is kind of the odd man out. Edward Berger is my number 6 here. I feel like for Conclave, it's a very well-directed film, beautifully shot, great locations, a very like high-intensity tone. The score is wonderful, and you know, he's the mind behind all of that, so he could totally get a nomination here. Coralie Farge, similar deal, just such a unique film and unique cinematography, interesting score. Just it's a film that doesn't look like any other film that has come out this year or feel like any other film that has come out this year. And the sound design and just everything with this film, it's so unique, and she could totally sneak in and get a nomination. Then I do have Ridley Scott and Mohamed Rasulov rounding things out. Ridley Scott just because it's Ridley Scott, and Rasulov because of the incredible story behind the making and just distributing of The Seed of the Sacred Fig. It doesn't feel too likely that he'll get a Best Director nomination, but I feel like there's a possibility with that. Lead actress is very similar to director, where I feel really good about 4 of these candidates, and then for the 5th slot, it's like, what do we do here? Kicking things off, I do have Mikey Madison. For a while, I was really backing Carlos Sofia Gascon, but just the hype for Mikey Madison has been outstanding. You know, people are praising this as just like one of the best performances really like of the decade so far. Like, there's just so much love and passion behind it. And I know not so many people have seen Emilia Perez yet, so Gascon could build up love for her own performance. But right now, just all the hype and buzz is behind Mikey Madison, so I did have to switch things up. But I do feel really good about Gascon too, and I think that really they are the only 2 that I could actually see winning Best Actress, at least right now. And Gascon, it would be a historic win for her if she did do it, and I think the story behind that is really powerful and could definitely have a big impact. at the Oscars. Then I do have Angelina Jolie, Pablo Larraín films, so like those performances, they always get their Oscar nominations. But everybody who's seen Maria is like, it's gonna get nominated, but it's like her performance won't win. I feel very good about just having her at a number 3, where I feel like she's a lock to get nominated, but just probably won't win. At 4, I have Saoirse Ronan for the Outrun. Actually just got to see the Outrun, and yeah, her performance is amazing. It's a great performance, and I just think because like Best Actress opened up a little bit, where you don't have Lady Gaga contending anymore, and Blitz, Saoirse Ronan is a supporting actress for that. So now, like, she can step in here for the Outrun, and I feel really good about that. At 5, I have Demi Moore. I think if The Substance is going to get one nomination, it's going to be Demi Moore. Because not only is it a fantastic performance, but there's just like a story behind it. It's revitalizing her career, it feels like. Demi Moore is somebody who I didn't really grow up with, I didn't really know about personally, but my parents, they loved her, and she kind of disappeared from the limelight, and this is the movie that has brought her back, essentially. And she gives just a wonderful performance, and I think that it could totally get an Oscar nomination. It's definitely Oscar worthy, even though the film is so out there. I have Nicole Kidman for Baby Girl after Demi, though. A lot of hype behind this performance. It did win the Actress Award at Venice, so there's a lot of love for it. But my argument against it is just, it's a film that just is not that Oscar-y. And yeah, The Substance is also not really like an Oscar-y film, but like, this isn't revitalizing Nicole Kidman's career. Nicole Kidman has been around. She is the face of AMC theaters. But like Demi Moore, she hasn't been. And so I just feel like there is more of a story for Demi, and it does feel like there is more love for Demi's performance, in that there's just more of a fandom that has been built around that compared to Nicole Kidman's. But I could be completely off, and Kidman could totally get a nomination. I have them both like colored the same way, like in the same tier, for that reason. Rounding things out, I have Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Hard Truths. Just like, it could be a great performance. I've heard great things about it, but the issue is that this is a Bleecker Street film, and Bleecker Street just hasn't had a lot of success at the Oscars. And there's not like this huge amount of like buzz for Hard Truths like there is for, The Substance, that is a movie film. So yeah, maybe Baptiste could get in, but it feels like a bit of a long shot. Tilda Swinton as well for The Room Next Door. Seems like she's the favorite over Julianne Moore to get a nomination, if either of them were to get a nomination. But again, I don't feel that good about The Room Next Door, because the people who've seen it don't feel that good about it. And then Ryan Destiny is my final pick here. I just feel like for The Fire Inside, it could be a big like Christmas success, and that 5th slot just feels wide open. And if this is a film that becomes loved and does really solid during the holidays, her performance could totally like creep up on everybody. It seems like there's some sort of rule of 4 or something right now, because yeah, I have a very similar situation with a lead actor as well. I feel like 4 are locked in, and then that 5th slot is just completely wide open. The 4 I have locked in: Adrien Brody, Colman Domingo, Ray Fiennes, Timothée Chalamet. I don't feel too good about Fiennes or Chalamet winning. Fiennes, just even though he is this amazing actor who is yet to win an Oscar, he just doesn't really have that big Oscar moment in Conclave. Those big moments are given to other people in the film, and that's just not his character's role. So maybe he still could win it, but I feel like it lacks that great, like, spark. You know what I mean? Timothée Chalamet, I don't think he's gonna win it here. I just feel like, he's playing Bob Dylan, and we've seen people win for biopics before, but there's just a depth to these other two performances that I think actually have a shot at winning that I just don't think we'll see from a Bob Dylan biopic performance, even though it could be like excellent. Colman Domingo, he is my number 2 here, but just such a beautiful performance in Sing Sing. I just feel like he has to get nominated for this, right? Like, he has to. And Adrien Brody, similar deal. I haven't seen The Brutalist, but it's just supposed to be like possibly the best performance of his career. And yeah, like, if it's really that great, then like, how can it not, win, or at least be a very strong contender to win? And I just feel like that his performance in Domingo's just feels so gargantuan. And I haven't seen his again, so maybe I'll end up seeing it and being like, oh, it's okay. But there's just, everybody who's seen it has said it's just so powerful and strong, and that's how I feel about Colman Domingo as well. So I just feel like those two are very much like my front runners to actually win. Well, Ralph Fiennes and Chalamet I just think are solid, like, nominees. But for the 5th slot, though, I mean, I have Paul Mescal right now for Gladiator, but like, it's a big, like, blockbuster film, and then like there's John David Washington for The Piano Lesson, but that doesn't feel like a big Oscar film. Daniel Craig for Queer also doesn't feel like a big Oscar film. So really, maybe I should have Ethan Harice higher. Right now I have him as my number 8 for Nickel Boys, just because I'm expecting there to be a lot of love for Nickel Boys and a lot of buzz for it. I expect it to get that Best Picture nomination, that Best Director nomination, so maybe Harice could actually sneak in and get that 5th lead actor nomination. And then finally I have Sebastian Stan Twice for A Different Man and The Apprentice. You could have it in whatever order you want. I don't think he's too likely to get nominated for either, but I don't know what other performances are really contending for this, and I'm just like, what's gonna happen? I'm very confused, I guess. So those are my predictions for these 4 categories. Thank you all for sticking around for this very long video. I know the Gotham Awards also just recently unveiled their nominations, but I just don't think those have any correlation with the Oscars really whatsoever. I don't feel like I even needed to mention them in this video until now, just to at least address that they happened and not pretend that they didn't. But yeah, anyways, what did you think of my predictions, and what are your own predictions? I would love to have a conversation about this in the comments down below and just start a discussion. Anyways, I'll see you all in the next Oscar related video or movie review that I do. Take care.